Good. Lily, how will we, what's?
Just a minute, Dick, you need to do the preamble.
You really think so? It's
I
not in the law.
I do.
We're holding
It's
this
pretty
meeting
open meeting law.
virtually. Okay, we're holding this meeting virtually because of the improvement to the open meeting law that expires in 1 week from Governor Baker's order. Okay, and that's important, by the way. We have to get back to that. But in the meantime, means that everything will need to be a roll call vote. Okay, now let's go on to the minutes. Lily, where I found the May minutes, right? Recently, not May, April minutes. We don't have May minutes yet, do we?
No, I didn't. They're almost done. They're not quite done. I've just been so busy trying to catch up with everything from, this past year that I.
Okay, not a problem.
almost done.
So, do I have a motion or any comments on the April minutes?
No, we've already approved those, and
They were available? Okay, terrific.
then
Then we
they've
will
been
cover.
submitted the to Jennifer, and they're posted.
Okay, now where are they posted exactly?
I sent you a link, actually. Remember?
Well, did you send it?
We got an email, and there was a request for the link to where the minutes are, and I sent you the link to the minutes. So I did send that to you. If you go on the town website, it's in the same place as every other committee minutes. You go on the town website, you go to committees, and then you click on that link, and it comes up with a lot of information, including the minutes, a listing of the minutes, and
Okay.
people can click on them. And there's actual archives of the minutes as well. So,
Okay,
so you
I
can.
sent that to Jude.
Yeah,
And
you sent
yeah,
the link. I mean, she's asking now for the link. So
I gave her the link.
send that to you. So through you, if you want to respond.
Yeah, and I sent it to her.
Okay.
And she asked the questions I had responded to the last time.
You didn't actually send the link, Dick. You copied me on the email. You did not actually send the link to her. So now she's asking for the link. If you could just,
I sent it to her. I sent it to her.
Okay. All right. You didn't copy me on that. So,
No.
okay.
And the phone polls, who knows when Eversource is going to start work? I told her I didn't know. So let's leave it. By the way, where do we stand on the recording?
So is that hey, Dick, so is that the update to the PV question? Well, I can put that on the, in the minutes. So the link is.
Who the hell knows?
I won't say that, but I will say.
2 months ago.
We're still waiting for a
2
response.
months ago, all the paperwork, let me answer. 2 months ago, all the paperwork was submitted, and Eversource said they would schedule it. They do quarterly scheduling, that's 3 months, and they would put it on their scheduler. And we haven't heard back hide nor hair from Eversource since. But they schedule in 3-month intervals, so I hope it'll be done in this 3 months. I don't know. Whenever the 3 months are. By the way, our meetings are being recorded. Do they get posted too? Have you found that, Lily?
Yes,
You
they
have.
are posted.
Through the
Sometimes it takes a while.
Do you know how far back they are?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Okay. So let's talk about the open meeting law. This is something that just came up.
Okay.
Governor Baker's order expires at 12:01 in the morning on June 15th. Suddenly, everybody is very concerned about it. So I didn't see anything official from our town, but we saw it from other towns. Yeah, Carol?
I just looked at the agenda for the select board meeting tonight. There's a page from, I think it's from Ryan Curley, that says that the executive order expires on September 15th.
He says, we hope. We
So
hope.
I'll give you the lowdown on this,
Yeah,
because I'm the Wellfleet Assembly delegate. So we have meetings the first and third Wednesday of the month from 4 to 6, as I've said many times in this meeting. And at the last meeting of the assembly, we had the Cape delegation attend. Well, some of the Cape delegation, both Julian Sayre and Sarah Peak are working on extending the open meeting law regulations to meet via Zoom until September 15th or the end of September. So there is legislation that's pending, and they're hoping to be able to get it through before June 15th. So that's the last I've heard.
but that's a hope. There actually are Seer filed one bill. There are actually 12 bills before the legislature, the Senate and the House covering it. I went to the meetings. The guy who's chairman of the committee did not express any hope of getting it done before the order expired. So, people fired bills, but the guy who's in charge of the committee who held the hearing and has scheduled 2 more hearings after the expiration on these 12 bills didn't have any hope it would be done in time from the
Too bad.
state legislature. All right, so who knows? Brian seemed, Curley, is it? Seems to think
Right.
September 1st. I wrote to him today and said, you ought to do something. He said September. The Cape Cod Commission attorney said they expect it's going to expire unless we hear soon, because you need at least 3 days' notice to post these meetings. And we're talking about next Tuesday, right? So it's a week.
Yeah, and the
Less than a
assembly
week.
meets on Wednesday. So, our meetings are posted on Friday, so it would typically be this Friday is when
Right.
they're posted and we get our packets. So,
Right. Well, so the commission is scrambling. They started scheduling meetings for the day before the expiration. Literally.
yeah.
So
Well,
I think
we can't, because it's part of the county law that we meet on the first and third.
right. And
Wednesday.
Wellfleet being Wellfleet has screwed up even more than normal, because we could have simply said that virtual meetings are okay. And you can have a hybrid meeting. Some people can be in person and some people could dial in remotely. But our town decided not to take that option. If they had, we could post it as, here's where it is in person, here's where it is virtually. And then, depending on the governor, a quorum would have to show up at the physical location, or only one person would have to show up at the physical location. But right now, Wellfleet has not passed that. So that's on the agenda for tonight as well, according to Brian. Because they can't guarantee that the governor's going to sign it to extend it through September. Also, the town has not announced when town buildings are going to be open. So you can't hold a meeting we hold our meetings in town buildings, and they haven't even told us when they're going to open. So you certainly can't schedule a meeting at the library or the COA, because we don't know that those buildings will be open. And I
Yeah,
don't know.
we have committees in that boat too, yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't spoken to Suzanne Grout Thomas, but the librarian has no idea when the building will be open, because she's waiting for the town. And the town hasn't given anyone a clue about when they'll make a decision. So fortunately, we don't have to worry until July.
Right.
We squeaked it under the wire. But there are a dozen other, I looked at the calendar and there are at least 15 or 20 meetings that are scheduled after the deadline of midnight on the 14th and are posted as virtual meetings and can't go forward unless something happens. So I
Well,
suspect
in
somebody's
theory,
going to get to the
they'll be
governor.
able to, yeah, in theory, they'll be able to take care of that tonight, right? If they change it to a hybrid system, right? That would.
Yes, but then they have to announce that they're going to open the town building so we can book a room. And then we have to repost all the meetings to say, here's where it is physically,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Do
we're
we
not
want
out
to,
of the woods yet.
do we
And
want to set a meeting date for next month while we're on the topic?
yes,
not?
and let's go back to what we had agreed on before I screwed up and didn't file the minutes.
The First Tuesday of the month at 7.
Yeah,
Right.
first Tuesday, right.
So that's July 6th. I don't know.
Okay,
Do you want to do?
yes, and I put on my calendar a much more important date to file the meeting notice 2 weeks before that. Because that's what keeps screwing us up. But yeah, July 6th. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
and let's agree, what time do we prefer as a committee?
7 o'clock, we said that we're going to be meeting at 7 o'clock as a committee. That,
Okay, and we will do it in the COA boardroom if it's open and available, and we have to. Otherwise, we'll do it virtually, right? Our first preference is all virtual. Our second preference is hybrid. And then our last preference is we'll all be there together, right?
yeah, I agree with that.
Everyone else?
Mhm.
Yep.
This is GB. I'm fine with that. Now, hybrid's going to be a combination of COA plus virtual.
Yes, if the state does nothing and the Wellfleet does allow hybrid meetings, then you'd have to have a quorum in the room, but you could, some people could be virtual. If governor passes it, then we could have one person in the room, I guess, and everyone else could be virtual. I don't know. We'll see when it gets closer. We'll see what it is. Because I wasn't thinking about things as far away as July, but there are meetings that are coming up, say, 2 days after this thing expires, that need to get reposted before we know whether the governor has changed his mind or not. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess it's just a fluid situation.
Right. And the part of that is these meetings with the other energy committees, right, which is scheduled for the 16th. And that's the day after. Now, last time we didn't have a quorum, right? It was just Suzanne, Carol, and myself. So if no one else feels the urge to come, I would just as soon not post it so we don't deal with this issue. Then we can hold it virtually. Yeah, GB?
So I was just checking my calendar and I had on my calendar the first Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m.
Right?
Is that the agreed upon schedule?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's what we,
Right, because the second and fourth Tuesdays are select board meetings and we really shouldn't conflict with them. Right now, for example, they're talking about some of these issues that I would have liked to have listened to. However, the first Tuesday is what our rule will be.
all right. And so the next meeting is going to be July 6th, Tuesday, July 6th.
That's
Right.
correct.
That's what I've
And
got.
the time is,
7 PM.
7 PM.
okay,
I think Carol has a question.
Carol?
So with regard to the joint energy committees meeting,
Mhm.
it sounds very likely that we will not be able to have this upcoming meeting.
No, that's not true. We can have the meeting provided we don't have a quorum of any one committee.
So we could still have it virtually.
The three of us who were there last time could still come. It could still be virtual. Okay,
Well,
So-
I think it's unfortunate that we scheduled it at the same time that Lily's.
Yeah, moving ahead, I'd like to
This is what-
avoid that,
you'd
Well-
like to what?
to avoid that time conflict moving ahead.
Let's discuss it at that meeting.
Yeah,
Well, this is a problem for me because obviously, what happened, I thought was an unfortunate situation where Suzanne put out a questionnaire, and then when she redid the polling, she knew that everybody in Truro was asking for a 4 o'clock meeting, and some of the people in our Wellfleet group were asking for a 4 o'clock meeting. So she put it out again as only 4 o'clock. And I was waiting for Chuck to weigh in. And I assumed that it probably would be Thursday because David was available, or he would be there on Thursday. And since we had discussed previously that we wanted to bring up the Energize program in collaboration with Truro, and we also wanted to bring up the EV car show and collaborate with Truro, I thought that Suzanne would wait for me and Chuck to weigh in, and there was no time limit on the email saying, when we would, when the cutoff time was. She put out an email to us. I was very busy that day. I saw it. When I saw it, I responded, but by that time she'd already made the decision it was going to be Wednesday. And obviously I'm an assembly delegate. I represent our town at the legislative branch of county government. I can't
So
make
you're
it on.
going to miss
Yeah.
this Wednesday coming up as well, right?
I can't, so you have the meeting, even though both David and I were not available on Wednesday, but we both were available on Thursday. And now you're gonna have the next meeting on the second Wednesday of the month, which is also an assembly meeting, which, I told Suzanne at the time. So, I mean, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. So I find it very challenging that this is the second meeting is going to be held, without David or my input. But I mean, I should think that you'd want to, as many members of this committee as possible. At least we should weigh in writing, answers to questions, or if we, but I
Well,
think.
they haven't adopted it.
Maybe maybe my point is maybe this unfortunate situation can be dovetailed with the governor's situation, and we could just postpone this meeting, until there's a time when it's good for both David and I, as well as others in this committee, to participate, because that was our goals were, the collaboration is the grants, the Energize, and the EV car show. So,
Okay, so are you available on the third Wednesday if they decide to do Wednesdays?
no, the first and the third Wednesday of the month.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is.
What
it's
about
current-
second and
it's
fourth?
Currently on the second Wednesday? What is the 16th?
The
That's the
third Wednesday.
third
So
one.
you're available on the fourth Wednesday,
Um,
second and fourth.
Yeah, the second and the fourth, I mean, unless I've got something else, that I've scheduled, but, I will make myself available at 4 o'clock, to do something like this, if that's, But
Suzanne, what do you want? You want to say, use the governor and say we have to postpone it and let's do another doodle
Yeah,
poll?
why don't we make that recommendation based on what Cheryl Gale wrote today? You know, we can use that as a determining
Okay.
factor.
And we'll send out another doodle poll when we get closer to knowing what the ground rules are.
Right. And then hopefully, I know you wanted to discuss Carol Harris's draft tonight. And so hopefully maybe tonight we can all discuss, come to a consensus of a night that would work for all of us
Right,
and present
Sure.
it to the larger group. Yeah.
okay. Fine, so we will do that. So our feeling is we'll take this opportunity of confusion to postpone the meeting. And next time, let's try to make sure that we can get enough of our committee involved.
Yeah.
And Dick, what are the implications of having a quorum?
The implication is since a quorum
means I
of
have
a
to
town
take minutes.
committee must be present because of the open meeting law. If you
Yeah,
have a
we have to
quorum, you have to
post it,
follow
I have
the
to
open
take
meeting. law.
Yeah,
It has to be posted. You have to take votes.
And it
Right.
may have to be in person.
And after the 16th, it may have to be in person. Not 100% in person. A quorum has to be physically present.
Okay.
That is,
So is that to say that moving forward, Zoom meetings as an alternative is out?
we don't know that. I mean, it may be temporary, you know, that's, I mean, you know, Sarah even said something like that at the assembly meeting, you know, they may not get it through, you know, right when this goes into effect, but it may go into effect a couple weeks later, a week or two.
yeah,
later.
I sat through 3.5 hours of testimony on this topic from people from all over this state. Because the
Yeah.
Cape Light Compact had filed its own bill just for JPEs, because they were afraid it wouldn't pass it if it was everyone involved. There were 75 people at this session. Everybody wanted virtual meetings. He pointed out how participation has gone up, how there's much more access, how individuals are so much more efficient, how people from Western Mass and Cape Cod can't go to meetings in Boston, all right? Because who's going to drive 2.5 to 4 hours each way for an hour meeting and then drive home? All right, so everyone is in favor of it. But there are 2 more meetings, 2 more hearings scheduled, all right? They're not moving fast, but everyone was in favor of it.
I can understand. Yeah.
So, and you know, hopefully they'll make the rules a little less restrictive. Most of our votes are unanimous. So instead of having a roll call vote for everything, if the chair asks for unanimous approval and everyone says yes, we don't need a roll call. You know, what was the other thing that they wanted? Oh, we want to have hybrid meetings. You want the ability to have a hybrid meeting where some people are in person and some aren't.
Yeah.
And we have to know how that will work.
I think that would be particularly convenient for us with Robert being out of town a lot.
Yes,
Very true.
Yeah, and if anybody is, you know, like GB, if you don't want to come down, you know, you want to be in Boston, I mean, it makes it so much easier for you. Or if people are traveling, you know, you can log in. So I
yeah,
think
so
it's,
there are, you know,
or if you're at a different
biggest
meeting.
hang
and
up will
wanna
be,
jump onto this, yeah.
the biggest hang up will be town meeting, because since they're including everybody, they're now debating whether town meetings can be done virtually. And they're only thinking of representative town meetings. They're not thinking of our kind of town meeting. But representative town meetings have seen attendance go from about 75% to 98%.
Yeah.
So everyone is in favor of it, it's just, it grinds slowly. Okay, so now let's talk about, Suzanne, why don't you talk about our meeting with the other committees?
Oh, okay. Well, it went very well. We heard a little bit from each town about what their concerns were. There was a feeling that Wellfleet is well ahead of the game. And so they, so I think there's this next meeting in particular is about sorting out how often we're going to meet, how we're going to run this, how we might break up into categories based on needs and concerns and all that. And Carol Harris has project development background. And so she offered to maybe lead things in that way, be behind that. And she's had success working with the 4 Outer Cape Town agents on a low-lying road project where she did that. So she thought maybe she can apply her skills to this. So if there are joint projects that the towns are going to be doing, we'll have a from beginning to end process laid out.
Okay. Provincetown and Orleans did not show up.
That's right. Yeah.
Is there any hope of Provincetown showing up?
Yes. Okay. So since then, what happened was Carol asked that I forward that draft to Orleans. And so I sent that to Kevin
Clements.
I sent that to him. And then I realized, I hadn't realized this the first time around, that anything that resembles an energy or climate action committee out in Provincetown is really the recyclable and renewable energy committee. And I just wasn't aware of that. So I never got in touch with that particular, and no one out there clued me into it. So I figured it out just by going on to their, the town thing. And I sent that out to them, and I've reached out to them, and I'll certainly follow up. And plan on including them on, going forward, any correspondence that has to do with this.
Okay.
Did
Do you have Martin Cusick's email address? He's from Orleans also. And he asked about it. I'll try and send that to you.
Did Eastham show up?
Oh,
Yes, in force.
Oh,
yes.
really? Oh,
Yes, they had about 4 or 5 people.
really?
And it was both.
Who was there? Is there a list of who was there?
I guess we didn't take minutes, did we?
We didn't. It occurred to me afterwards.
Did Eastham take minutes?
I don't think I'm pretty sure no one took minutes, but I could do a roll call about who was there and get that. I know mostly who was there. So, but I'll do a roll call out and get a head count on that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. I mean, some of us may know some of the people. Even for David's edification, he may have worked with some of these people, previously, So, and Robert as well, so.
One of the points that was made relative to Wellfleet being ahead of the other towns is that our priorities may not be the same.
Right. Yeah. Basically, that was the argument.
How so?
That things we've already done are things that they need to do now. And I think it was Carol Harris who I thought made the point that they weren't ready for an electric car fare because they were still dealing with energy efficient buildings, you know.
But
So,
the things that we did last time, we want to do again, exactly the same. If they want to do what we did then, that's what we're trying to say. We're just going to do it over again. And 4 years ago, nobody was ready for an electric cars because electric cars weren't ready for the general public. All right. Now we're including it because it's come into the realm of, it's not totally feasible, but once they get the $10,000 credit next year, next January, they'll be very competitive.
So Dick, what kind of car did you get?
I got a Tesla.
You did. That's
Model
awesome.
Y. Yeah,
Right? That's awesome. Great. Good for you.
it's
So you did not get the $10,000 credit?
the one that's not going to be available until next January.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. But there is, I thought it was a $7,500 credit this
That
year.
expired about a year ago.
Oh. Oh. What about, speaking of that,
There's a
just out of
state tax
curiosity,
credit. There's a
uh,
state tax credit of $2,500.
is there? Oh, okay. What about for, you probably know this better than anybody, Dick. For mini splits, did the new laws that that were passed, will the tax credit or rebates be higher next year?
The mini split, the state law is favorable to mini splits, and I haven't been following it in detail, but they're probably more generous than they were a couple of years ago when I put it in. It's very hard to keep track of all the rebates.
So, but
Right, Compact is the one.
but you don't get that kind of update with CLC and all that. You don't get that kind of information on a monthly
No, you
basis.
do. You do. It just changes all the time.
Okay.
I mean, since I put it in, there've been probably 3 revisions on what they are. And I know the last law is very generous on mini splits. But you have
and
to
that-
decide if you're holding a meeting in the fall, you have to talk about what's available in the fall and winter. If you hold a meeting the following spring, it'll be a different story.
Yeah, so Maggie probably knows the answer, or is it who
Yes.
CLC knows the answer?
Right. Or what it is today. But the question is, we're not holding a meeting today, we're holding a meeting in the fall, it will be different.
Yeah, but somebody should know what it is, what it's going to be. Huh?
Yes, they should.
But they
And
don't.
whether they're point of sale, meaning you get a discount as you buy it, or whether you have a rebate, or a combination of both. But the law did make provision for mini splits. The state law recognizes that's one of the main things that has to happen to get rid of greenhouse gases.
Right. So, so, I mean, if we're talking about initiatives with these other towns as well, I mean, as far as strategy is concerned and, talking about these things, and you're talking about building efficiency and energy conservation with these other well, I guess town buildings are a different story, but I mean, certainly with homeowners, I mean, it would be, I don't think people would be very pleased if, if the rebate is much better, or is double, what it is, or if it's something similar to the car rebate, where it's $2,500 now for a tax credit and it's 10,000 next January. I mean, the same thing for the mini split. So, I mean, we should know what it is. I mean,
It's very hard to game the system because I know Tesla's raising their prices gradually so that by the time the rebate comes into effect, you're going to be where you are now.
yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
I don't know. So our next action is we're going to suggest that we put this meeting off because of the confusion over the open meeting law and the fact that we want to be able to have a quorum of our committee there. We're not certain how to do that.
Or we want to have people that are, taking leads on things or have taken leads on things and could be.
Right. Well, part of the problem is that I was not very clear about what an energized program is. Maybe we should write a position paper circulating about here's what we're thinking of as an energized program. This is what we did in 2018. And while you think Wellfleet may be ahead, we're actually going to do exactly the same thing we did in 2018 to the extent possible, because we have to do it over again. So,
And David had some literature on this. He had like 2-page, fact sheets or something like that. Maybe it would be easy to revise those.
right.
Yeah.
So,
I know you said that there was a reluctance to start do anything with the EV car show in Truro. Did Eastham feel the same way, that they weren't ready for that?
I don't think they voiced an opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little.
oh yes, there was a very good suggestion from one of the Truro people. They said, why are you holding it in the fall? Why not just get a couple of slots at the flea market
Oh, right. Yeah.
and bring, and do it 3 or 4 times over the course of the summer. Get people to bring cars in, let people walk around and see them, kick the tires, don't kick the tires because they're private cars, but just get a couple of slots. And
We'd
see
have
if
to
we can,
act now on that, though, no?
excuse me?
We would have to act now on that, correct? To get that in place over the summer? I mean, July will be here very soon.
The point is, if someone contacted the flea market and said, what would it cost us if we wanted to bring in electric cars and put up something, you'll get admissions, it's another thing. How much were you going to charge us for it? If they want to charge us a vendor slot and it's $300 a spot, well, I don't think we can do it. But if they're going to donate it, and we'll just try to get more traffic to come to the flea market and pay their usual prices, maybe they'd be happy. I don't know.
So that idea sounds like you're asking private citizens like Dick to bring his car there so other people could see it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we can, I think that private citizens, and Rich Rosenthal has 2 electric vehicles. One's a Bolt and one's a Tesla. And what's her name? Matt, not
Yeah.
Matt Hay.
Yeah.
Hey, Elspeth Hay has
Yeah.
one. And if we began to look around, I think we could find one.
Yeah,
I think
but
one of our former energy
people really
committee
want to do that?
members has an electric Subaru. Would
Yeah,
you
but
believe?
do private people really want, especially in the age of COVID, I mean, she really wants people
It's
to,
outdoors.
I know, but oh my God. You're you're unique, I think, Dick, if you want people to, look at your vehicle and sit in it and, touch it and all that. I don't know.
Actually, I found that most EV car owners are proselytizers. So right now, they're all very willing to do it.
Really, wow.
Who was it? Marcy, this wife's name's Marcy, Jim and Marcy. They have an electric Subaru, which they had to import from California
Huh.
because they're not for sale anywhere on the East Coast.
So is Rich Rosenthal living here in Wellfleet?
In the summer, yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
Phoenix in the winter.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
And
a
he's
full-
good because he just drove his car across the country.
Oh, okay. I saw them on the beach and I don't know,
Mhm.
somebody else said, oh, I don't think they live here anymore. And I said, well, I saw them on the beach.
Well, he was definitely on the beach last night. We were all together.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
So he has two cars. Elspeth has one. I have one. We can probably find another bunch of cars. I'd love to get Jim and Marcy, whatever her name is, because they have a car that's really unusual, an all-electric Subaru. And then maybe some dealer will show up. And be
Well, see, that's what that would be what I think it would be. I mean, I think if we could get a dealer to come, that would be a good thing.
Yes,
So
and I would
So we're not
focus on
imposing on,
two dealers.
citizens.
Two dealers. One is the Ford Mach-E and one is the Volkswagen ID4.
Hmm.
Because they're both close to being sold and there are cars around. ID4s are around and Mach-E's are around. So those two are the best alternatives to Tesla around. And if you could get those, we'd have enough. Now, the Cape Cod Commission keeps talking about maybe they'll do another car show. Everyone keeps talking about maybe they'll do a car show, but let's get one out there, see what happens.
But was Eastham at all interested or not really?
I think they were.
Yeah,
That was one person's suggestion. I mean, it wasn't an organized front, I would
Right.
say.
no, it was not an
Yeah.
organized meeting, which was probably my fault.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
But they might be interested, if
Yeah.
we made that a real proposal.
Yes, if we said we're holding it, would you guys like to sponsor it as well? They probably won't walk away from it, right?
Now, didn't someone bring up at the meeting that somewhere in Hyannis, there's an upcoming electric vehicle show?
There was one 2 years ago that Dan Wolf's brother organized,
Right.
Jim Wolf.
Jim will.
And there's talk of there being another one
Yeah.
after post-COVID, but so what? The more the merrier, right? They'll have a bigger thing. All we want is for people to see some. You can do it low key, you can do it 9 yards. You want
Just do
people to think it's realistic. And I think that the best salesmen are people who own these cars, because having been exposed to a lot of them, I see how enthusiastic they all are.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, yeah, I know a couple of people that do own electric vehicles, and they are very enthusiastic. But I don't know about having Joe Q Public,
The
citizens.
ground rule is you can park your car here and you'll be willing to talk about it. You're
Yeah.
not taking anyone for a ride.
You're not having them.
That's
sit
the
in
ground
bed
rule.
or, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Because you can open the doors and see the thing, there's
Yeah,
there's
would-
very little to see on the inside of a Tesla, I'll tell you that.
yeah, it's cool.
It's a screen and a steering wheel.
Yeah. Okay,
Anyway,
Okay.
and people need to talk about charging, and you're not going to bring a charger there. Right? But charging is done in your home. That's the important thing. People always worry about there aren't enough charging stations, and it's just the wrong question to ask. That's why people who own them will explain you do 95% of your charging in your house, and the rest of the time you do it on the road, and it's not a big deal.
Well, speaking of charging, because that's something that most people don't think about as the first thing, but need to consider is to just have, some kind of portable mock-up made up that shows, here's the side of your house and here's a wire running from a, box on the side of your house out to the car, and here's how you plug it in, and here's what happens when it goes inside the house. So they just, they can get a conceptual view of, oh, that's not that big a deal. And you can always have some, as part of that, some estimate that says, for this kind of a setup, it'll cost you roughly between X and Y.
Yes, people can talk about it. And the X and Y is anywhere between, I'd say, $150 and $3,500. That's a big X to Y. Depends on you. If you have a washing machine, you've already got the plug. But now you need another one, like your washing machine. So nobody ever wanted a consumer fair to learn how to install a plug for a washing machine.
I don't think that's the concern. The concern is what's involved, not how you do it and all the details, but what the basic components are. And if it costs $150 to $3,500, it's a wide range, but it's useful information. People know what to expect.
Yeah, well, I could explain that.
Yeah, I think,
Mine cost a lot because I had to dig a trench since I put my charging station out in the middle of my parking lot. If you're not digging a trench, if you're putting it on the side of your house, you're drilling a hole in the wall, whatever that costs. To drill a hole in the wall and run a wire through it.
yeah, but I do think that GB has a good point that the more
Okay.
concrete, people can make it, the more realistic they'll feel that it is for them.
Yeah,
I definitely would second that. And I would like to know why there's such a huge range in terms of cost. I would like to hear from electricians who do that kind of thing.
no, it's not.
That's my hesitation about buying an electric car.
The real question, well, let me tell you.
But I don't want to just, are we
Okay.
getting anywhere here? We've been
All right,
spending a
yeah.
lot of time on this.
All right. In any event,
Okay.
Lily, will you explore with the people who run the flea market, whether or not they're open to the idea of maybe a few times in the summer, having people bring in electric cars and showing them off?
I'll make a phone call and see what
Okay.
I can do. I'll give you a call, Dick, and let you know.
Right. And then we'll put together the names of all the people we know with electric cars and approach them.
Say, in that regard, I'm just thinking about those, programmable portable roadside signs, those little trailers that have the big sign on it. You can, once you get something concrete going on, you can put something on, Route 6, I don't know, somewhere down near the Rotary or whatever that says,
If it's free and on public property.
Yeah.
If it's in the flea market, we can't do that.
well,
But
I'm not saying you can't put up a sign if it's in the flea market.
No, because we're sending someone where they're going to charge admission.
Yeah, but you can't do it anyway. I mean, you have to have permits from the town to put up
Right.
anything.
I-
And also, when you're on a highway, it's, there's certain, you have to be some feedback from the.
I've asked several times to advertise.
It really is. But they can advertise too, I mean, they do a fantastic job advertising for the flea market, and this could be a win-win for them too. They might be able to bring more people in, so we'll see what they think about that, because they could put a little banner ad on their advertising, and it might draw more clientele for them as well.
Or they could themselves get, just rent one of those portable signs, the programmable signs at the appropriate time, just set it up near the entrance there. So people coming down Route 6 either way can see what's coming up.
Or they could
Yeah.
put it on the marquee,
Okay.
Yeah.
So the community outreach program, we want to do an energize. We would like to incorporate an electric car fare. But I will write something up, fly it by David, see what he does to describe an energize program, and we'll get back to them. All right? Good. Well, we can skip the global covenant of mayors because Robert isn't here. And the next one is also Robert. So now we're up to grant proposals. Where do we stand on that?
Okay, so last Thursday, Carol and I had a Zoom meeting with Rebecca Slick, who is the new assistant town manager, and Jay Norton. And that was regarding renewing the REPA funding with
Mhm.
Cape Light Compact. So that was a very good meeting. We've squared that away with Margaret. And so that's going to continue. But in that conversation, some other things came up. And one of them was that Rebecca Slick mentioned that there's a need. She wanted to see a prioritization of possible projects that would be funded by this REPA.
Mhm.
So we started to talk about that. And one of the things that came from Jade Norton, in fact, is EVs for town administration. So the two of them are very interested in that idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
So,
many cars are involved?
he was thinking of just one. I don't even think this is really thought out. It was just something that was tossed out there of what are potential projects.
Yeah,
Can I-
because the fire
Can I-
department is a
Can
company.
I ask one quick question, just for logistics for the minutes, so I don't have to look stuff up? So how do you spell Rebecca's first and last name? Do you mind?
Rebecca, Rebecca, last name Slick, S as in Sam, L as in Larry, I-C-K.
Okay. And Jay Norton, Norton. And in the Renew the What program, could you spell that?
The REPA, R-E-P-A, and that's the regional, I'm not going to remember it, regional energizing prioritization, whatever A stands for. Something along that.
Will you
Fine.
just email that to me so I,
I'll find out the, yeah.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
So when you met with the J, had Mark Vincent already died?
Yes, yes,
Boy,
I know.
so now he's acting.
He's acting. Jay is
Right.
acting manager.
What a loss.
Yeah, huge loss. Yeah.
So, the other thing that came up, and I think Carol will talk more about this.
We lost you, Suzanne. Can't hear you.
Suzanne,
No sound, Suzanne.
Suzanne, we can't hear
There-
you.
Oh, okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. You need
Okay.
to be closer to your mic, I think.
It's not, it's just my internet just freezes up. I'm pretty close. Okay, so we brought up to Rebecca that there's just been a lot of miscommunication in terms of who's working on what on grant projects, and that it would be very valuable to have a central person who, it's not that they're necessarily coordinating the grant, but they know the stages of different grants and what committees and what departments are working on them, so that we can all confer with that person and know, where to go from there. And then another thing that came up was right after that meeting. So Jay Norton received notification from Cape Cod Commission about what looks to be like, and the Cape Cod Commission was strictly reaching out to DPWs, town DPWs. But it was an offer for a low-lying road grant project. And so it would be, she wrote to him to ask if Wellfleet's interested. What that would essentially turn out to be, which is really good, is a sister project to the MVP
Mhm.
project that we're doing for feasibility studies.
Who in
So
the Cape Cod Commission was it? Heather?
Heather McElroy, yeah. So that's pretty good news, because that's expanding the scope of the low-lying roads project and getting more done at once, hopefully. So so that's it from me, but I think Carol had a little more to add.
One of the people in attendance at this meeting with Becky Slick and Jay Norton was Suzanne Thomas, and I'm not sure who invited her. She showed up about halfway through. But she mentioned, when we talked about how nice it would be to have somebody coordinating all the grant projects that are going on in town, she mentioned that there was a grants policy from the select board. So afterwards, I looked at that. It's a 3-page policy, which I had never been aware of. And I am wondering if we might want to ask them to update that policy. Because for one thing, the responsibility for identifying the needs for projects is stated as department heads. There is no mention in the whole policy about the potential role of committees. So we're like totally ignored, and yet we want to be part of this process. We could perhaps suggest that committees can be part of the process.
So Carol, why don't you take a cut at redrafting the policy?
Okay,
All right, and then we'll circulate it, and then we will approach the select board and ask for an update,
okay, I'll have it for the next meeting.
okay? Besides our committee, which other committees are involved? I know the Board of Health does, but does that mean
Well, that's a
they
department.
do it through? Yes, it's a department and a committee, right?
That's
There
correct.
are committees
How about
associated with
conservation?
most departments.
What?
There are committees associated with most departments, some directly and some indirectly. But
Yeah.
but they're just not mentioned in the policy at all. And I think that's a big omission. And it
Okay.
makes me a little uncomfortable. You know, one of the things is that the department heads are supposed to supply the grant proposals to the accountant and the treasurer. And, you know, we've never done that. We don't know about it. Somebody presumably has, but we've worked on grants without sort of knowing what the deal is.
Well, and no wonder why Hillary has had some of the reactions that she's had. I mean, she probably knows about this and assumes we know about it too, which we don't, so I'm glad that Suzanne was at the meeting and you're taking action.
I mean, Jay Norton, Mark Vincent was a huge depository of, past history. But Suzanne also is one of the people who's been around for a long time and is very helpful.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Did you find anything out about the matching grants? Is there anything new about that?
We didn't.
Okay.
Okay, status of the landfill. We're still waiting for Eversource.
Okay.
So wait a minute. So Dick, did, what's his name there?
Robert? Wait, you just went mute, GB.
There we go. Did Jim Nowak from the Public Schools Administration get a hold of you?
Yes,
Okay, because he called me. Before calling you, I gave him your number. He was trying to find out, has this been turned up yet? And if not, when are they going to do it? And
right. He wanted status too, because they're supposed to get the electricity and they have to plan their budget.
right.
So I told him all the paperwork at our end is completed. It's been submitted to Eversource. Eversource does their planning in 3-month cycles. It was submitted 6 weeks ago in time for the current cycle, but we don't know that's all we've heard.
Okay, well, that's pretty much what I told him. I said, my understanding is that it's on Eversource's work list, and I don't know when it comes up, but
Right, and it has been accepted. It's met all approvals.
it's been accepted but not yet approved.
It has met all approvals.
Oh, good. Okay.
It was pre-approved. Now they're putting it on their work list.
Got it. So that means there's still hope that it'll get turned up in our lifetime.
I hope so. I certainly do. Okay, local comprehensive plan. Carol, did you have something else you wanted to do?
I thought I would just mention on behalf of Robert, who is not here, that he and Suzanne and I met virtually with a woman named Lila, who is in charge of the reporting database for the Global Covenant of Mayors.
Mhm.
Specifically, Robert is wondering how to characterize our town planning efforts, because the 2016 plan has never been updated and is due to expire next year. But then there was the MVP workshop, which kind of deals with hazards. So we agreed that this woman would look at our plans and advise us on how to report on that. And that Robert would submit stuff a little bit early so that she can do a check on it. So she was kind and helpful about the reporting, which I assume he's working on as we speak. In terms of the local comprehensive plan, what I thought we were doing is.
Wait, Carol. What's Lila's name and how do you spell it?
I don't remember her last name. I will send that to you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
What I think we're doing is using what we submitted to the local comprehensive planning committee as a planning tool for our committee. And that's not the way it's represented in the agenda or in the minutes, but that's what I think we're doing. And since I haven't seen the minutes, I'm not absolutely positive of this, but I think we had agreed to look at goal number 3, which is the Wellfleet communities, non-renewable energy consumption.
Right?
So if people have that document, we could look
You
at,
want to share your screen?
share my screen?
Yeah,
No,
put it,
no, I can't do that.
you can't?
The document is on my other computer.
Oh, okay.
I have 2 computers that I use.
Does anyone have it up or around? Not, we'll have to read it. You sent it by email when?
A couple of months ago.
Okay, so we're really looking for just local comprehensive plan. Let me see if I have,
The latest document I think I called WCAC goals.
okay. Oh, WeCal Goals 2021.doc.
What date is it, Dick?
You had to ask. I had it a minute ago.
Oh, okay.
Let me put it up, okay? I'll share my screen.
Great. So the first one is about measurement of community energy use and greenhouse gas emissions, which is the Global Covenant of Mayors, basically.
Okay, well, here's the start of the document. Goal 1, you want to go down to goal 3? Okay,
There we go.
so can everyone see enough of goal 3?
Yeah.
So we assigned this goal to Robert, assisted by Suzanne and me. And I don't really know if Evelyn Jackson and Olga Khan are still in the game. He hasn't mentioned them lately. I actually wrote to Maria Broadbent about vehicle information, but obviously that was a non-starter since she left shortly thereafter. I suppose I could try the new person, because I was told that we couldn't have that information because there was confidential information in the database. And my question is, why can't they just strip that out before they give it to us?
Wait, what information are we discussing?
What vehicles are in the town?
We don't need it individually, we need it aggregated, so it isn't confidential. They can make a spreadsheet internally, list every vehicle, and then
You
aggregate.
would think they could, but they told me they couldn't. So that's why I was applying to the town manager. So
Okay,
I will re-request this from the acting town manager.
okay. And the way we're saying it is we don't want information identifying individual cars. We just want the make, the model, the year
Of those cars,
of those cars. We'll look up what they're supposed to get
right?
and count them, and we'll do the counting. There's no identifying information.
So,
Let me say one thing. When the Cape Cod Commission tried to do this, they tried an approach that was a little simpler. They said, why don't we just count the percentage of cars that are EVs, plug-in hybrids, and other cars, and just do it as a percentage of cars rather than a percentage of miles, fleet average, which is a simpler idea to do, right? Because you don't have to take every single car and figure out what its average mileage is estimated to be. You just track the percentage of EVs going on. When I look at videos on YouTube looking at EV progress, that's the way they do it. 10% of the cars in the country are EVs. 10% of the new cars are EVs, something like that. So we'd like to get new registrations, new cars, and, and then total cars, and which are EVs, which are plug-in hybrids, and which are gas guzzlers, and not worry about the fleet average.
And which are hybrids too, hybrids and then. not
Hybrids only if they're plug-in hybrids.
Why?
Other than that, they just get better gas mileage. But what I'm saying is we're not trying to keep track of gas mileage of the average anymore. That is, when we were a long way off, figuring out what the fleet average was helpful. But now we're getting closer to the point that by 2030, it's got to be at least 50% EVs. And by 2035, 100% of all new cars will be EVs. We don't need to be, as I'd love to get the fleet average, but it's just easier to get total EVs versus total ICE cars.
ICE cars?
Internal combustion engine cars. They
That's
date from the ice ages.
okay.
Sorry. ICE cars versus EVs versus plug-in hybrids. Because plug-in hybrids at least plug in for some percentage of their mileage.
Okay, I will try again on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be easier to do. Okay, keep going on.
So
Promote.
number 2, promote energy conservation and greenhouse gas reduction and solar panel and air source heat pumps. And we thought that that was the area that David was working in.
Well, it is the Outer Cape Energize, yeah. So we're now all on that committee, but yeah, that's what Energize is.
But we haven't heard much about it lately. So
You have, Carol, that meeting we held with all those other committees, that's this item.
okay,
We're promoting it. It's a little slow, but that's what we're trying to get all these towns to do. Promote energy conservation, greenhouse gas reduction technologies, meaning EVs and air source heat pumps, solar panel installation. That's it.
okay, I will incorporate something about this new group with
Right.
that number. Now, the third one, we already talked about some last time, the question of reducing peak hour consumption. And since Eversource doesn't track this, I guess it's the same answer that battery storage could be used to shift electric usage.
Okay, so our action is to promote it, right? And that means, that's what it's written here. So that means we have to make sure to add that to our Energize program, that we talk about it.
The other thing is, I think the point I was trying to make too, when, Carol and Suzanne and I met, is that people don't even know what peak and hour is and off-peak hour. And actually, the last time we had one of those energy fairs, Maggie Downey spoke at one of those mini lectures we had, and she said that it's from 4 to 7. And, when people are getting off the beach, that is the greatest, load of power draw. here on the Cape,
Yep.
which I didn't, I never even thought of that. I thought it was, work hours, 9 to 5 or something.
No, no. It's,
But that, so I mean, just even educating people what peak hour is so that people don't, that want to make a difference. They're not running their dishwasher, from 4 to 7 or, those kinds of things. They're doing things that, take a lot of energy. They're not plugging in their plug-in cars, from 4 to 7. Just educating people about what it is and
right.
so that they know how to utilize their energy
Yes.
consumption.
So if you have a Energy Star dishwasher, I think it has a setting that says delay 4 hours before starting. I know mine does. So you load the dishwasher up, you put the soap in and you push the button and it waits 4 hours before it starts. Still available in the morning. And the same thing is true with cars. You put in the hours you want it to charge. At least on my car, you say, I want it to be charged by 7 a.m. and it waits until whatever time it needs to. So it's charging at the lowest time of the day, which is before everyone gets up to go to work. Yeah, we can talk about that. That's why it needs to be part of the Energize program, because we're promoting. That's all we're doing, educating and promoting, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, so number 4 is more educating. And we thought the WCAC website is a great place to put some of this information. And Suzanne volunteered to work on this. Another suggestion that came up, apparently there was an energy fair before my time. And is that something that we want to do again? Any
So
thoughts?
Lily organized it, so I'm, that's what we had said we were going to focus on the electric cars this time. Right?
So there's not much enthusiasm for that at this
No,
point.
this is a 5-year plan. Sometime in the next 5 years, we might.
Okay.
And if it's like the last 5-year plan, it's going to be in effect for 10 years.
At least.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's something that we would still do. I mean, just because we're not doing it tomorrow doesn't mean it isn't in our 5-year plan.
You still feel as that's an important, I mean, it was pretty successful the 2 times we did it. And it would be something that would be a benefit to do again in the future.
Mhm.
That's what I said at the meeting anyway, but I mean, but we don't know what the rest of the committee members might think. I mean, I thought it was really, we did get a lot of people through, and I think that they got a lot of good, useful information. And also, I thought those mini lectures were really good. I mean, they were 20 minutes long, and there were such a variety of them, and people really did show up for most of them, and they really, had a lot of positive things to say. So
Yes.
It could be a very efficient way of delivering information that we want to deliver. Where was that held? It was done twice, Lily?
yeah,
Was it the COA?
yeah.
Okay. So number 5, promote the acquisition of electric cars. So this obviously we've already discussed tonight and we'll be doing more work on. Number 6, yes?
incentive programs by the Commonwealth for reducing. Yeah, I guess we should. I always have to rely on the Cape Light Compact for all the programs because Mass Save is always in the hub of, in the middle of it. Well, let
If
me
we-
ask, when you have a name here, what are you asking the person to do? This is still a 5-year plan. Are we saying we're assigning someone for the 5 years or?
I'm not looking at the goals document as a 5-year plan. The local comprehensive plan is a 5-year plan. But goals, what I was trying to do is figure out how do we advance these in the present.
Okay,
So I'm looking at this as more of a 1-year planning document.
okay, so then we do need to get someone who wants to start getting their arms around all the incentive programs. Any volunteers?
Yeah, I think the three of us felt we were all committed in terms of what we're doing now.
Yep.
And I really would have not much idea about how to go about this.
I guess mostly
it
you
could be
have to go interview the Cape Light Compact and see what the plans are. Okay, let me try taking this on.
So you'll talk to,
I will try to write a coherent story on what the incentive programs are across the board
great.
for our use for the next year internally and in our Energize program, right?
Excellent.
Okay.
So Carol, you brought up a point because that was my confusion, is I didn't see how we could adopt this as our goals for the committee when we need to have the local comprehensive plan, adopted first. So that was like putting the cart before the horse, and it was like not having the authorization to do something that, we were doing, I mean, it's sort of like you need to put it forth, get it approved and adopted, and then we can, say, okay, well, then we're using these as goals. But
I think that we have authorization through the charter of our committee, which is broad enough that
Right.
everything we've discussed is within the charter. So if we say this is what we're looking to do in the next 5 years, and by the way, we're starting now, it's fine. The assignments are for now, but this is what we think we're doing in 5 years, right?
Well, yeah, this is what we're trying to do, I mean, as a committee, we're trying to do these things.
Right.
So it's fine to put off some of them like an energy fair until later.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, not later exactly. We'll schedule in 2023 or 2022, right? Summer of 2022, not this summer.
So the last item in this section is buying opportunities for greenhouse gas reducing technologies. So again, I guess this is potentially part of the Energize project.
Let's change this from out of Cape Energize to Cape and Islands Energize. Okay, the out of Cape Energize is what we will do as 5 towns get started within the next few months, 6 months. The Cape and Islands Energize will incorporate all the towns in the Cape and Islands, and they won't do it till 2022.
Okay.
So that's our plan. And they will
Good.
have, all right.
So for the next meeting, should we go back to number 1, which has to do with the town administration, and we avoided it because of the situation with the town administration? Or should we work on number 4? Preparedness and adaptation. What
What's
is
your call?
my call? Well, why don't we look at number 4? Because, I mean, we
Okay.
still don't have a real town administrator, a permanent town administrator. Thank you.
Climate preparedness and adaptation. So this is the, not mitigation, which the others were, but adaptation.
So there's a lot in that one, and we can discuss that next time.
Okay. The library lost their climate activist.
Somebody resigned.
She
Who
took a
was
job
that?
in another town, yeah.
Oh,
Who was
yeah.
that?
Yeah, who was that?
It was the young girl who was holding all the, young woman who was holding all the climate meetings and,
They did a really great job. She did.
That's really too bad.
yeah. So I don't know who in the library we can partner with. Long-term, yes, but I'll find out if they're doing anything.
Yeah, we'd really like to know if there's someone who could continue that, because I thought it was terrific.
It was somehow, I'm just trying to remember, what was Naomi involved with that at all?
No, it was that young woman who
It
came
was
in and wanted to
strictly
do,
her. Yeah, Gabrielle, I think her name.
yes, right. And she took
Yeah,
a job in Eastham or Brewster or something like that.
yeah.
You know, I do remember that Naomi was involved with one of the books that was being read a couple of years ago. I mean,
Right, the
maybe,
sixth extinction.
yeah.
Right. She was very on top of that. And so I wonder maybe,
Maybe she'd be willing to take over that role.
right. Yeah.
So there is a climate book group that's run out of the library. Let me find out who's really running it. Because
Good.
my wife's in it, and I know the Sixth Extinction is one of the books they read.
Hmm.
Okay,
Good.
Okay. Future topics?
well, future topics, we will discuss goal 4, right?
Yes, next time.
Look, with the current agenda, which I would otherwise like to resubmit, is there anything that we should change? Because these are generic topics. Is there any new topic we need to add to this that doesn't fall within the scope of what we've already got?
The policy on grants, the select board policy on grants.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. We could have talked it under grant proposal status. Maybe that's better.
How are we going to go about pursuing or finding out about availability of funding for matching grants? Where did we leave that?
We talked to people at the Cape Cod Commission. I don't know.
Well, oh yeah. So the story, I think.
Oh, the funding. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I think that I believe that they have sought and received matching funding for all the towns involved. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, good. So I believe that they have sought and found matching funds for all the towns involved. However, they were aware that Wellfleet last year, we had told them that we had received the town reserve money, 50,000. So, and we were gonna find out about that for this year. Were you gonna put it in an article or something like that?
right. That was before we had the disaster
Yes,
with our finances.
yeah, things are very different.
Yeah, Jeff made a recommendation at the last meeting that we not do that this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And it should be okay with this particular project that we're working on. And it's the only one that we're working on as of now.
Mhm. Okay. So this is what I'll put in for an agenda. It was the 6th, right? I didn't forget that.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you, everyone.
Okay, so just a quick question. Just in terms of this draft, I know that we want to, postpone the meeting and everything. But what to say to Carol Harris? She was expecting all revisions and recommendations on this due tomorrow.
We'll say that, let's put it off for a week and so this open meeting law situation's resolved. And we'll send the recommendations in a couple of days. I
Okay,
think,
who wants to reach out to this coalition to make that recommendation? Who should do that?
well, I will do a reply all, I guess, to the email she sent out, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I don't know what happened at the select board meeting, whether they allow hybrid meetings or not.
But you'll find out, all right?
I'll have to call somebody. The meeting is held concurrently with this, so who knows? I'll have to call someone on the select board, I guess, find out what they decided,
Okay,
okay? Good.
all right. So,
Thank you all.
thank you. So I make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in
Okay.
favor by roll call, Suzanne? Me, I, Lily,
Yes,
Carol?
Carol left the.
You're on mute, Carol. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Hi.
Okay, GB.
affirmative.
Okay, thank you all. Bye-bye.
thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Night, everyone.
Bye, thank you.